What is biblical mercy? Maybe you've asked, why do I still feel so guilty? Or maybe you've thought, why do I keep falling into the same sin if mercy is real? Maybe you've prayed the same prayer 100 times, but the guilt still lingers. You've promised to do better, but nothing ever changes. As a Bible teacher and biblical counselor for over 25 years, I've heard these same phrases time and time again. In this video, I want to help you understand biblical mercy and exactly why you feel stuck. Because mercy doesn't just rescue you from what you deserve, it recruits you. And when you see that, it changes everything. It changes your identity, your relationships, even your mission. Mercy doesn't just save your life, it changes your assignment. I can prove it. To help you follow the journey, I want you to imagine the journey of a river. Everything flows from a spring or on the top of a mountain all the way out to the ocean. The same is true of God's mercy. It starts with the true source of mercy, God Himself, and then travels all the way down into your life and then ultimately outward into the world. If you don't understand the journey of a river, you will miss the opportunity to be a huge blessing to those around you. So stick with me, because I want to show you why mercy is not just a lucky break. It's the environment God lives in, and it's the reason you're still here. Here's the path. First, it starts with the spring. God's rich mercy is the source. His mercy never runs out. Then we get to the stream. Mercy in motion through the stories of His people, watching mercy rewrite real lives. Then we get to the river. Jesus, mercy embodied, flowing strong. The ultimate display of God's awesome mercy through His Son. Then we get to how the river impacts the banks. Mercy shaping your life as it passes through you. How it really transforms you. Then we get to the ocean. Why mercy drives your mission. Think of this like the journey of a river. It is so important because everything flows from the top, God's mercy, all the way down into your life and then outward into the world, the ocean. Most people blur mercy and grace together. But if you do that, you'll miss the sharp edge that makes mercy powerful. And I want to show you the difference, because this is one of the big hurdles that hinders this river from flowing freely from the spring. So many people get this mixed up, which is like a beaver damming up the flow of a river. We cannot let that happen. So let's first jump into the difference between mercy and grace. There is a clear distinction. Mercy doesn't give you what you deserve. Mercy withholds what should fall on you. Mercy says you deserve wrath and the hammer, but I didn't give it to you. Whereas grace gives you what you don't deserve, what you could never earn. Grace says you deserve nothing, but I'll give you everything and so much more. Just imagine a courtroom. You're guilty. Evidence is stacked high. Sentence in writing. The judge says guilty. Then he steps down and he takes your place. That is mercy. You don't get the punishment that you earned. But then after paying your debt, the judge comes and invites you to his home. And he says, everything I have is yours. That is grace. Mercy cancels your debt, where grace writes you into the will. Mercy holds back the wrath, where grace pours out the gift. Mercy spares you from hell, where grace gives you heaven. Mercy keeps you from death, where grace gives you life. Mercy isn't a soft path. It's God absorbing the penalty so that you can step into freedom. If mercy were just a legal loophole, yeah, that would be impressive. But here's what makes it breathtaking. It's not an event, it's an attribute. Mercy isn't just what God does, it is who He is. And this is why you must understand that God's mercy is like the journey of a river. It starts from the source, God Himself. He is the source where God is rich in mercy. Mercy isn't random. It's not God's mood on a good day. It's who he is. When God introduces himself to Moses in Exodus 34, verses 6 and 7, the very first thing he says wasn't, I'm powerful. It wasn't, I'm wise. He says, I'm merciful and gracious. That's God's calling card. That's his business card. Mercy is the lead line. Paul says it plainly in Ephesians. God is rich in mercy. Rich, not rational, not stingy, overflowing. And here's the wild part. Paul says this all while he's still sitting in prison. But if you think mercy is just about God sparing you, wait until you see what happens when mercy starts moving outward into your life and into the life of those around you. But there's a huge tension. You might think God's mercy has run out. Surely he's done with me. But Scripture says his account never hits zero. The spring will never run dry. Think of mercy like oxygen. You don't notice it, but when you're starting to choke, it's everything. And here's the thing, oxygen doesn't stay put in science books. You breathe it every second. Mercy is the same way. It doesn't just live in theory. It breathes real life, rewriting real stories in your life, in people's lives. Mercy isn't rare air. It's the atmosphere of God's kingdom. The Bible doesn't theorize about mercy. It shows it in motion over and over. And this is where the spring starts to flow, a stream. God's word is full of stories of mercy in motion. Let me name a few of them that are just amazing. They're so encouraging. Think about Israel, its story. If people ever deserved abandonment, it was Israel. They grumbled in the wilderness. They chased after idols in the promised land. They rejected God's prophets. But every time, mercy pulled him back towards them. Even in exile, God promised restoration. Mercy meant that their failure never had the final word. Mercy says, I should abandon you, but I won't. Mercy is God's refusal to give up on his people. Then think about David's story. David had everything. He had power, he had position, he had promise, all from God. Then he took what wasn't his. Then he killed to cover it up. And in one chapter, the hero became the villain. What saved him? Mercy. If ever someone deserved to be cast out, it was him. Yet in Psalm 51, David cries, have mercy on me, O God, according to your steadfast love. And he makes no excuses. He didn't offer any bargains, just an appeal to mercy. And God spared him. Yes, there were consequences for many chapters going forward. But mercy restored the relationship, showing that God's compassion runs deeper than human failure. But there's a twist. Mercy didn't erase the discipline. It just restored, redeemed the relationship. Mercy doesn't minimize sin. It maximizes restoration. And this is not the only story. Think of Paul. Paul described himself as the chief of sinners. He was a blasphemer, a persecutor, a violent opponent to the gospel. Yet in 1 Timothy 1, 13 through 16, he says, I received mercy so that Christ might display his perfect patience. Paul became a living advertisement for mercy, a testimony that no one is beyond God's reach. Mercy says even the worst sinners can be remade. Mercy proves no one is too far gone. Here's the shift. You can't miss this. Mercy isn't just about rescuing you from judgment. It's about rewriting your mission. There's another story, Bartimaeus, his story on the roadside. Blind Bartimaeus cried out, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me. And the crowd tried to silence him. But mercy had ears of desperation. And Jesus stopped in his tracks. He healed Bartimaeus. Not because Bartimaeus was worthy, but because mercy moves towards misery, not away. Mercy doesn't walk past misery. It walks straight towards it. Another story is like the Good Samaritan, a man left for dead. Religious leaders passed by him, but the Samaritan, someone who was despised by the Jews, stopped. He saw and responded with compassion. Jesus ended the parable by saying, which one of these proved to be a neighbor? And the answer was the one who showed mercy. Mercy is compassion with sleeves rolled up. Mercy pays the cost when others walk by. Mercy moves from feeling to real action. In Israel, with David, with Paul, with Bartimaeus, with the Samaritan, all had different failures, different needs, but they had the same headline: mercy rewrites stories. Mercy is not giving what's deserved. All of these stories, Israel, David, Paul, they echo from the source. God's mercy flowed downstream. If you want to see mercy in 4K, let's take a moment and look at Jesus, the greatest example of mercy. This is where we see mercy really flowing like a river, where Jesus in the flesh showed mercy. And think about what he did with the leper in Mark chapter 1. In a society where lepers were untouchable, Jesus didn't just heal from a distance. He touched the man that was untouchable. Mercy crossed the barrier of shame and uncleanness, showing that no one is beyond compassion. Mercy says, I don't keep my distance, I draw near. Or think about the woman caught in adultery in John 8. She was dragged in the dirt, guilty as charged. They surrounded her, holding stones in their hands. Judgment was certain. Death was so close. This is when Jesus flipped the script. Let him who is without sin cast the first stone. One by one, they dropped their rocks. Mercy shields you from the stones you earned. Jesus looked at her, says this, neither do I condemn you. Go, and from now on sin no more. Mercy didn't excuse her sin, but it refused to let her story end with destruction. Mercy doesn't throw the stone. It sets the gavel down. Mercy says, I don't deny your guilt, but I won't destroy you. Think of Zacchaeus in Luke chapter 19. A tax collector. He was hated. He was corrupt. People despised him. But Jesus looked up into that tree and called him by name. Zacchaeus, come down. I must come to your house today. Mercy doesn't just tolerate sinners. It eats dinner with them. And Zacchaeus, his life was transformed by the table of mercy. Mercy eats with the outcast. Mercy rewrites reputations one table at a time. And all of this pointed to the ultimate moment, the cross. Justice demanded judgment. Mercy longed to spare, and at the cross, justice collided with mercy. Wrath collided with love. Death collided with life. And Jesus stood in the middle. Mercy says this, I'll take your punishment so you can take my peace. Mercy absorbs wrath to unleash love on you. That's why Hebrews says that you could walk uprightly to God's throne with confidence. The place that should terrify us. It's now the place where mercy meets us. If this picture of Jesus' mercy clarifies anything for you, you know what to do. Subscribe, share this with somebody. We want to be an encouragement. We want to help you be the kind of person that reflects God's mercy. Now, it's one thing to admire the story's mercy or Jesus's mercy, or to clap and say, wow, he loved people so well. But mercy was never meant for admiration only. It was meant for application. If mercy stays in the stories of Jesus, it inspires you for just a moment. But if mercy gets into your life, it transforms you forever. Because mercy in your life is how the water hits the banks. Think about where we are in the river. We started with the spring, with God himself. We followed the stream through Israel, David, Paul, Bartimaeus. We stood at the river with Jesus embodying mercy in flesh and blood. But rivers don't just stop midstream. They keep flowing. And now the water has reached the banks where you live, where I live, where we work, where we struggle. And the question isn't whether Jesus had mercy 2,000 years ago. The question is, What does mercy look like when it floods into your everyday life? What does mercy look like when your coworker lies to you or lies about you? How about when your spouse wounds you again? Or when shame whispers, you'll never change? Mercy isn't meant to be admired in Jesus and ignored in you and me. Mercy moves from the source, down the stream, through the river, and now it shapes the banks where you stand. And here's where it gets real. Because mercy doesn't just flow through history. It's meant to reshape you, carve out the banks of your life, leaving marks you can't ignore. Well, mercy shows up in how you view yourself. Some of you are drowning in guilt. You know God has forgiven you, but you still replay the failures on loop in your brain. You're punishing yourself for sins God already nailed to the cross. But here's the truth. If mercy has cleared your record, why are you still holding yourself in prison? Mercy says you're free. The debt is gone. The shame is silenced. Think of it this way. Mercy is like a judge tearing up your criminal record, but you're still standing in the cell, rattling the bars, convinced you belong there. No, just walk out. Mercy means you can step into the daylight. But not only does mercy impact yourself, mercy also affects how you interact with others. Your spouse will fail you. Your coworker will disappoint you. A friend will hurt you. And when they do, will you crush them or will you cover them? Mercy doesn't keep score. It keeps the door open. Think about David. Think about Paul. Think about Bartimaeus. None of them earned compassion. Neither will the people in your life. But mercy doesn't wait for worthiness. It moves towards needs, like the Samaritan. Mercy says you don't deserve it, but I won't destroy you. Mercy says I'll absorb the cost so that you can restore the relationship. This is where mercy impacts others, and it is evident in how you are patient, where mercy can be so patient in an individual's life because disciple making isn't efficient. People stumble, people wander, they argue, they doubt, they fail. But think about the disciples. They fell asleep in Gethsemane. They denied Jesus in an hour of his need. They misunderstood his mission again and again and again. But what did Jesus do? He didn't kick them out of the river. He carried them with mercy. Mercy says, I won't quit on you because God didn't quit on me. Think about mercy as the steady banks that will keep flowing and the river straight. Without those banks, the river would spill out into chaos. With them, the water keeps it close. Your patience, fueled by mercy, is what helps others stay the course in their discipleship, in their spiritual growth. A river doesn't flow into your life and then stop. It keeps moving, widening, gaining strength. The banks are there where you feel it personally, but the current is always moving forward. And that's what mercy does. It doesn't stay with you. It moves through you. And if you dam it up, you're going to miss its purpose because mercy in your life is supposed to impact others. Mercy doesn't pool. It pulls. Mercy never stops at the banks. It always carries you downstream. And this is where we see the ocean, where mercy can impact others. Where does the river end? It doesn't stay in the spring. It doesn't stop at the stream. It doesn't pool in the banks. Every river has one destination. It's the ocean. It doesn't just flow to you. It pulls you outward into something bigger. Mercy always moves into mission. Paul put it this way in 2 Corinthians 4, verse 1. Therefore, having this ministry by the mercy of God, you do not lose heart. Don't miss it. Paul didn't say that we had the ministry because of his talent or his education or his successes. He said he had ministry because of God's mercy. His whole mission existed because mercy wouldn't stop at him. It had to move through him. And that's the heartbeat of discipleship. Disciple making is mercy in motion. This is where we have a mission. To think about it. We are here to call people, invite them, not because they're worthy, not because they're special, but because mercy didn't wait for you to be worthy either. And he called you. We are here to teach people where we walk patiently with them, even when they stumble, because mercy has been patient with you. We forgive people. You absorb the cost of people's failures because mercy absorbed yours. We send people, you release people to go, not because they're flawless, but because mercy sends imperfect people to spread mercy further. Disciple making is just mercy multiplying, which is so cool. We show mercy to messy people. Let's really be real. Disciple making is messy. People will let you down. They'll take 2 steps forward and then 3 steps back. They'll question things that you thought they already learned, and you'll be tempted to give up. But mercy whispers, don't quit. I didn't quit on you. Mercy gives you the strength to walk alongside messy people because God is still walking alongside you. The disciples were not fast learners. They argued about who was the greatest. They doubted when they should have believed. They fell asleep when they should have prayed. And yet Jesus didn't cast them aside. He carried them. He discipled them. He turned slow learners into world changers. That's mercy in action. And that's your call too, where mercy moves towards you. And here is the good news. Disciple making isn't about your strength. It's about God's mercy carrying you as you carry others. If you hoard mercy, discipleship dies. But when you pass mercy on, discipleship multiplies. Mercy doesn't just save you, it sends you. So here's the truth. You are a recipient of mercy, not your worst sin, not your failures. Mercy defines you. But mercy isn't meant to sit still. It's meant to flow. That's your mission. This week, we need to live it out. Drop the chains you've already broken. Give what they don't deserve. Invite someone to the river. Maybe even mark the mercy moments. Because mercy isn't just a doctrine to understand. It's a life to live. And when you live it, discipleship isn't a burden. It's an overflow. But mercy has a twin. If mercy reshapes your mission, grace redefines your identity. And when you finally see grace clearly, you'll realize disciple making doesn't start with what you do. It starts with who you are. So if you're ready to see how grace changes everything, I encourage you to click on the link right here at the end. Know that I'm praying for you. We at Shepherd Thoughts want to encourage disciple making in your life. And our prayer is that you would be encouraged through these videos and live to honor Christ and make disciple makers. God bless.